Alrighty, Jay, I am pumped for today. I know you're pumped for today, too, as an upstate New York native. Are you a native, right? I mean, you grew up there. That counts.
Sure.
Haven't been there in a while, but it still counts.
Yeah, it's home turf, for sure.
You worked at a bagelry in Ithaca. That's about as upstate New York as it gets. We've been waiting to do the Bills episode for so long, man. We have a lot of Bills fans that follow this show. A lot of friends who are Bills fans. Shout out to Rockpile Report, Drew and Chris, all them. I got my Lagavulin 16 tonight just for you boys because I know you're going to be watching this. Huge episode today. I don't know. I just always love talking about teams that we know are legitimate Super Bowl contenders because there's just so much energy in the comment section. All the fans are psyched. We're psyched. You know, we feel like we're talking about a team that has a legit chance at a ring here. Can't wait, man. Bills are awesome.
My uncle can take me to task for all my takes that he doesn't agree with. So my entire dad's side of the family lives in Buffalo, has since before I was born. Dad was born and raised there, aunts and uncles, all cousins born and raised there. So long history with the Bills, and one of the most passionate fan bases in sports, and really taught me about that as a kid, even before I was a football fan. You know, if the Bills lost on Sunday, Monday in town sucked. Like, I don't care if you were going to the bank or the bakery or whatever. Everybody was just kind of glum. And it wasn't normally like that. Buffalo is a very friendly city. And you just got the idea that it had deep meaning for everybody in town, and still does. And, you know, their recent run of success, their resurgence, again, to the top of the conference, to being a contender, has re-energized that fan base, but they never left. That's the thing about Bills fans. Even in the lowest of years, that passion remains. So it's a super fun team to talk about. It's a great football town. So I'm equally excited to talk about the Bills because this is a team that's loaded up, and we're going to talk about all the moves that got them there.
Well, as we do with every single show, talking about every single team, we start off with a little bit of a 2021 recap, you know, how we got here to set up the last 6 months or so of roster reconstruction, or in the Bills' case, roster reloading. They didn't really need a rebuild at all. It's basically just, we're almost there, get a couple extra pieces. 2021 was both exciting and disappointing at the same time because you saw the potential throughout the year, and that they were an absolute threshing machine by the end of it. And I think the ending to the year left a bad taste in a lot of Bills fans' mouths because they know that with the flip of a coin, it could have gone the complete opposite direction, and they might have had a Super Bowl parade a few months back if that coin went another way. I think there was a legitimate argument for that. So exciting season, but also a little bit of a painful prick at the end there. But if there was ever a chance for them to now exceed that lofty mark and go all the way, this is probably the year. They did go at 11-6 in 2021. Obviously won the division. Home record 6-3, road record 5-3. Very solid both ends. Which in the AFC East, at least going into this year, if they still go 6-3 at home, I'd say that's what you're shooting for. It's a tough conference. It's a tough division. I don't expect them to go, undefeated at home this year, but if they can at least get close to that, they'll be fine. Last 5 games, though, that was kind of the real difference maker for them, ending on a 4-1 run there to really position themselves well in the playoffs. I want to see them repeat that this year because when it comes to the AFC, at least over the last 2 decades, whoever has the better December is really what matters. With the Patriots for years, they were almost unbeatable in December. That set up so many AFC championship games at home. The Chiefs close out seasons really well. That was setting up AFC championship games at home. If you are good in the last 4 weeks of the season when things get cold and you have to play defense and you have to be able to run the ball, those are the teams that tend to go all the way. The Bills, at least for now, look like they're going to be one of those dominant December teams, which is what matters. So overall, pretty exciting, again, as I mentioned, 2021, but also a little bit depressing at the end.
Little bit. I think Bills fans listening to this will take issue with our characterization of a little bit disappointing. Massively disappointing for that fan base that was primed for so much success and had seen so much of it in the last month. And I love that you bring up the point about how they finished. They learned the hard lessons for years in division. They watched the Patriots own everyone in December. Brady would just refuse to lose those games down the stretch. There was no such thing as like rest your starters. Nope. Keep the hammer down. Take every game you can. And they learned those lessons well. Yes.
I haven't had Lagavulin in a while. Just
Whack.
saying.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
It's like drinking a fireplace. You love it.
Yeah. So if you don't want your hopes to go up in smoke in December, look at that transition.
Oh, look at you.
I know. I'm getting good at this. You got to do this. And they know how to do it. And they showed real tenacity. Not only was it a 4-1 streak, but 4 wins to close it in a row. That's strong. They're going to need that. They can't let up. Their division rivals, who we've been talking about all week, have all improved. They're still the top of the heap. We'll talk about that as well, but they're going to need this kind of performance again. They're not going to be able to stretch out to a lead and relax in the first half of the season. They're going to have to close strong, and I think mentally they know how to do that now, and it's just staying the course.
Looking at the power structure at the top, I think one of the big reasons why they've been so good late in the season is because they have a very experienced staff. It's been together for a long time, experienced front office that's been with this staff for a long time. The kind of core components here, other than Brian Dable, who just left, probably a year after maybe he should have, but yeah, they got one more year of Brian Dable maybe than we expected. But other than his departure, Brandon Beane, been there for 6 years. Sean McDermott, been there for 6 years. Phenomenal GM, like top 5 GM in the league, inarguably. Phenomenal coach, top-tier coach, not just in the AFC, but in the NFL, period. Them being together for so long, again, speaks volumes to how they're able to, keep it together when they're going into December at 7-6, and they have a legit shot to, maybe get up to like a 1 or a 2 seed, or they could completely fall out of the playoffs. It can go either direction there, and they rallied and, again, finished super strong and were one of the best teams in the entire league by the end of December because of those core structures in place. Leslie Frazier, been there forever now. Year 6 at DC, 3rd year as assistant head coach. Ken Dorsey, he is first year in terms of offensive coordinator, but he's been there for 4 years. And before that, he was one of the better quarterbacks coaches in the league down in Carolina, where Cam Newton won an MVP under him when he was a quarterbacks coach in Carolina, and he was instrumental in the development of Josh Allen as well. So Ken Dorsey, them retaining him to be offensive coordinator, I think was a coup for them. And then Matthew Smiley as well on special teams, year 6. So the core of this group, the power structure, at minimum has been here for 4 years in this town, and most of them have been here for 6 years. That is remarkable stability, especially when you see some programs like, say, the Rams that get poached every other year. They've been able to keep these guys together and in a groove, and I think that speaks volumes to how they've been able to kind of weather these storms, and even when they're kind of on shaky ground in the middle of the season, they can recover and all of a sudden be completely dominant by year's end.
Cohesiveness is a big part of that. Again, they thought they were going to lose Dable. We all thought Dable was going to get a head coaching spot after last season, right? And went through his head coaching interviews. One reason or another, those jobs didn't work out, and he comes back completely unexpectedly, much like their rival in Kansas City, right? Eric Bieniemy's been on the head coaching tour now for a good solid 3 years, and every year it's like, he's going to get a job this year. He's going to get a job. So Dable hangs around, ends up going downstate, gets the Giants job this year, but Dorsey's been working with him as, right-hand man for 4 years, understands the quarterback. We'll have to see how the play calling works because that was one of Dable's great strengths. But overall, this group at the top is not one to panic. They set the course very stringently at the top, and it's one of the reasons they've been successful, that mind meld between Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. They came in, sat down, said, what are we going to do? And Bills fans will remember the first couple of years weren't great, right? There's a lot of moves they had to make to get on that course, and they said, nope, hang on, we got it, stay the course. People had to have faith, and then the plan started to come together with the players that they were bringing in, the culture that they were building. And since then, they've been rolling. But that is a very strong foundation that the entire rest of the building can rally around and say, nope, the folks at the top have a strong vision. It is unified. It's not coach over here and GM over here and sniping. It's, nope, this is what we do as the Bills. And that set the strong foundation for this team to be the resilient competitor that it is now and should be for some time going into the future.
Just one thing really quick. A big reason why we can afford to make 40 episodes in this team summer preview series and roll out a new show every day is because of our partners like Babbel. Babbel is a language learning app for people like me that really want to become functional speakers of German, for instance, for hopefully an upcoming trip to see an NFL game in Munich, but who also don't really have a whole lot of time to learn German. Or even not just German, but up to 14 different languages really, including Spanish, French, and Italian too. Babbel lessons have been created by over 100 different linguistics experts and are scientifically proven to be effective, and perhaps most importantly of all, they do have speech recognition technology in order to help improve pronunciation and accent. Because at least for me, if I'm going to be running around Munich shouting Sprechen Sie English at everybody I see just to get directions, I at least want to sound sort of like I know what I'm doing. Babbel also gives you access to podcasts, games, videos, stories, and even live classes. Plus, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee. So if you yourself are interested in learning a second or even third language, right now you can get a 3-month subscription of Babbel at the link in the description below, and you will get an additional 3 months for free on top of that. That is 6 months of Babbel language lessons for the price of 3, again, at the link in the description below. That is babbel.com, promo code bootleg. Once again, babbel.com, promo code bootleg. And with that, let's get back to the show. Not to mention, if you have, historically speaking, stable GM, stable head coach, stable quarterback situation, everything else, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but boy, it matters a hell of a lot less. Yep. Those are the 3 things you need. Front office, coaching staff, freak show quarterback. You can fill in the rest and be okay. In terms of notable coaches on this staff, by the way, kind of a stark contrast to some other teams, even within this division, that maybe, keep things smaller, closer to the vest, more familial, literally, especially when looking at New England. There's a lot of coaches in Buffalo. A lot. Their staff has got to be one of the biggest in the league.
The overall number is in stark contrast to the rivals with the Patriots, right? Patriots' number is one of the smallest overall in the NFL. Bills' number has to be one of the largest overall number of total coaches they have on the staff. In terms of notable coaches, starts off with Aaron Kromer, offensive line coach. Aaron Kromer, I put former and just left it because he's been seemingly everywhere. He was with the Bears. He was out west. He came back. Very experienced offensive line coach. Tons of stops. Worked with many great players. That's the kind of experience that they have on the staff. Mike Schula is a senior offensive assistant, rather vague title for a guy that was the former offensive coordinator of the Bucs and the head coach at Alabama. Comes from a football family, obviously, has been around the game his entire life. He's just an assistant. So, McDermott can assign him to solve any particular problem that they're facing, whether it's division, whether it's the next week's opponent, tendencies, whatever, and have a guy with a tremendous amount of experience as a sounding board to just go get, right? That dog will hunt, go solve. That's a luxury. That's what you get when you have that many coaches on a staff. Rob Boris, the tight end coach, 18 years of NFL coaching experience, Bills, Rams, Jags, and Bears. Look up Rob Boris. Everywhere he goes, the tight ends have career years. He is one of the best at doing just what he does, being a tight end coach. One of the reasons I'm extremely excited about their addition of O.J. Howard, because O.J. Howard has sort of underperformed since being drafted to Alabama, being in that very crowded room in Tampa Bay. And when I actually said, hey, I think the Bills should go get him, the Bills did go get him after that. And knowing that he's landed with Boris, everybody's like, well, Dawson Knox, right? Dawson Knox was not a highly heralded prospect coming out. Had a career year last year. It's not a mistake.
Red Boris. Zone monster, Dawson Knox.
Yeah, Rob Boris is very good at his craft, so I'm super excited as an O.J. Howard fan to see how that develops. Joe Brady, a name that many NFL fans will remember, former Panthers OC, former offensive coordinator at LSU. He's the quarterback's coach. He takes over Ken Dorsey's job. So, again, the rich getting richer, getting a guy that's had the job up from that and, bringing him back to what he's very good at and made his mark in coaching at. Gets to work with, it's kind of a great gig, right? Hey, you want to come work with Josh Allen? We already got him to a really good place. You just want to keep that going? Yeah, I would love to help him keep going and hit the next level. Ryan Wendell, assistant offensive line coach, is a former NFL offensive lineman, Pats and Panthers. And Chad Hall, wide receiver, former NFL wide receiver with the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Chiefs. He is their wide receivers coach in Buffalo, so he's a very talented group that we're going to be talking about. That's just the offensive side of the ball. That's just the notable coaches, not all coaches, just the notable coaches on the offensive side of the ball. On defense, shorter list, but, no less qualified. Kyle Schumer is defensive quality control. So former NFL QB himself and son of longtime NFL coach Pat Schumer. So didn't get out of playing football very long ago. Went back to Vanderbilt, spent a year as an offensive assistant there, and now he's back in the NFL, this time as a coach. And then Bobby Babich is a name that caught my eye, and I thought, is that? And sure enough, Bobby Babich, the linebackers coach, again, a very talented group for the Bills, is the son of longtime NFL coach Bob Babich, who has coached linebackers in the NFL for the last 20 years, including when the Bears last went to the Super Bowl in 2006, and it was Briggs and Urlacher and Hunter Hillenmeyer and all those guys. That was a Bob Babich unit. So Bobby, his son, is the linebackers coach for the Bills. So as we've talked about before, familial connections, staff connections, where folks went to college, all play in. But that's just the notable coaches. There's easily that many again that you might not know the names of that all have their specific roles. It is a large and talented coaching staff in Buffalo.
Schumer specifically, by the way, was on a roster as recently as last year with Washington. Didn't play obviously, but got undrafted with the Chiefs for a year, was with the Bengals practice squad, then went back to Vanderbilt as a volunteer, picked up a job with Washington, and then I think at some point last season it was like, okay, the playing part ain't gonna work. Let's just go the coaching route from here. Picked up a job immediately with defensive QC, which for a guy who was a quarterback, but was a quarterback last year, to immediately be defensive QC, that tells me in particular his role on this coaching staff is going to be the defensive coaches installing something or going over something for that week and going to Kyle and say, if you're under center or if you're in the gun, how are you looking at this? How are you processing this? Where are your eyes going? And I think it's going to be a very similar thing to, not to use the Patriots too much as an example, but I think it's going to be a very similar thing to how the Patriots teach their quarterbacks, where they teach them from a defensive perspective. Tom Brady for a long time has credited Belichick with being more instrumental in his development than any offensive coach, because Bill would literally sit with him every single week and go over the defense that he was going against and, how things are taught and where a DB's eyes are supposed to be, to basically teach Tom defense first so that he can play offense from a defensive perspective. I think Kyle Schumer is going to be filling a similar role for this coaching staff, is coaching defense from an offensive perspective of, hey, you're son of a coach, been around the game forever, you have a quarterback mindset, how are you looking at this, so that we know how can we beat you. So I love that addition just from that, because that's going to be his role, I think, as he kind of grows as a coach over time. Very, very valuable thing to have. Also, I'm kind of expanding on the defensive staff here. I'm really curious to see how they generate pressure this year because they have kind of reduced their blitz rate each of the last few years. For a while there, they were like over 30% blitz rate, especially like 2019, 2020, and then dropped last year down to about 26%, slightly above average. I'm talking barely above average blitz rate. And it seems to me like they really found their groove when it was, hey, we're playing quarters or rotating down, to either cover 3 strong rotation or cover 3 weak rotation, very zone heavy or, match zone heavy, I guess would be the more accurate terminology. And we're going to rush with 4. And if we're blitzing, we're blitzing for a reason. And that seemed to work better for them than the higher blitz rates they had in the past. And I think looking at their coaching staff and looking at some of the moves they made in terms of roster construction that we're going to go over in just a second, I think they might actually blitz less this year than they did last year because now they have the horses to do it.
Their front 4 is really strong. I want to talk about this defense overall because obviously a lot of the offseason focus, especially with Dable moving on, is going to be about the offense. Can they maintain? Their offense has been a hallmark. Their defense has been good, great in certain places, but their overall defense has been good, but their offense has been adaptable. It's one of the greatest strengths Dable had, was bringing a different game plan that could really flex and hurt opponents in creative ways. We'll see if Dorsey can continue that. But I don't want this defense, this version, because every version every year is a different team in terms of there's so much turnover, losses, additions, coaching, and player alike. This lineup for the Bills, this defensive lineup for the Bills is scary looking.
Yeah.
Like on paper, their front 4, which is where you were starting, you've got Greg Rousseau, who I think exceeded most expectations as a rookie, as an athletic freak out of Miami. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones as a pickup in free agency, who we really like, and then Von Miller, one of the all-time
Who's Von
greats.
Miller?
Yeah, one of the all-time greats. We don't need to go into Von Miller's bona fides. He's good to go. That front 4 is really talented. And then you stack behind that guys like, their second-round pick in A.J. Epinesa and Tim Settle, who we really like as a rotational guy. They get Jordan Phillips back. They got Boogie Basham as a pass rusher, backing up Rousseau. Like, they're legitimately 8 deep in the front 4. That's ugly to start with. Now, usually a team that had that much firepower up front would have layers behind that where there were some players that were replacement value, whatever else. No, you go to their middle linebackers and you've got, one of our favorites in Matt Milano, who they re-signed for big money, and Tremaine Edmonds, who is an athletic freak that gives you a ton of flexibility there. Okay, great. Their secondary has to suck, right? Nope. They got
Still
Jordan
great.
Poyer. Yeah, it's great. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, probably the best safety tandem going right now in the NFL. Trey White, who I love as a corner and fits the system to a T, coming back, hopefully fully healthy right off the gun. And then, oh yeah, by the way, well, it must be that other corner, right? It must be the off corner that sucks. Well, that's their first-round draft pick this year. Get a very highly rated guy out of Florida. We'll talk about him in the draft picks. And, okay, well, everybody starts in nickel. Nickel's base. Their nickel's got to be where they're hiding that junk player, right? No, in our unheralded player episode, we talked about Teron Johnson being,
Top 5 nickel easily.
Highly underrated.
Yeah.
So top to bottom, this defense is on paper, and they have to translate that to the field. I fully understand it. A lot of change. In terms of talent, this defense is as good as it's been in Buffalo in easily the last 3 or 4 years. This defense has greater potential than those defenses, which were good and impactful, not matching the offensive firepower. Maybe earlier it was the defense had a little bit more emphasis or bias. certainly in the last couple of years, the offense has started to take off and really click, and the defense has just sort of kept up. This defense has enough firepower that it almost matches the offense with, again, one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league running it. Like, this is a scary team on paper.
They're good on good during camp. I would fly to Buffalo just to see that, because you're literally watching a top 3 offense in the league go against a top 3 defense in the league every day in practice. Like, how can you not enter the season completely ready to go when the guys you're playing against, Tuesday through Thursday to get ready for the game, are probably better than the ones you're going to play against on Sunday? It's like Bama. Like, that's literally what it's like. It's like your practices, at least on some occasions, might be harder than the games. So it's, their roster construction is just ridiculous. And I do want to go over a lot of the free agency losses and kind of additions all at once, because I want to illustrate how they were able to stock this cupboard, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because they lost a lot of guys. I use the term lost loosely. It was really more like, take one step back, 2 steps forward when you look at who they replaced him with. But, there was 7 interior defensive linemen and edges who played significant snaps for them that are no longer there compared to this year. Star Lotulelei is gone. Justin Zimmer, only about 15% of the snaps, but still rotational guy. He's gone. Vernon Butler's gone. Mario Addison's gone. Jerry Hughes, long time, great bill, fan favorite. Still was productive for them, by the way, but he's gone now. Harrison Phillips is out of the building. Like, that's a lot of defensive line snaps that are no longer there. But as we've alluded to before, they replaced them with arguably even better talent. Just kind of skipping forward a little bit just to the defensive line additions. They brought back Jordan Phillips. They got Daquan Jones, who I think is an upgrade over Star Lotulelei. If we're talking about, who's just a big hog we can put at one technique. Like, Daquan's better than anybody they had, whether it was Star, Vernon Butler, any of those guys. Daquan's better. And then Von Miller, better edge than Jerry Hughes at this point, or really at any point. Von Miller is Von Miller. It's really remarkable how this was an elite defense last year with one of the more productive pass rushes in the league in terms of pressure rate, and now they're better. Like, it's just insane.
My favorite thing about Von Miller coming to the Bills is his appreciation of what his role is on the Bills, and he didn't have to be signed to be the guy. At this point in his career, there's a lot of times that, veteran players who've played in the league for a long time starting to get long in the tooth, come in and everybody's like, oh, they're just going to be the same as they were 5-7 years ago. Like, Von Miller's not going to be the same as he was 5 or 7 years ago. Still really good, still really effective. But he embraced that. He's like, this is a team that if you're saying, oh, they're one piece away, like, this is that team, a piece or a few pieces. I can just be this piece. He said, I don't have to be the guy. I don't have to be the superstar. I don't have to come in and be Von Miller of old. I can come in and be the Von Miller I am right now, help them out a little bit, and that'll be plenty. They got it. That's what they said, what he said when they were talking to him when he came to town. And that, to me, is great. That is a front office being very objective about the player they're getting and the role they're getting him for, and that just fits. He can fit in and not have to try and stand out when he doesn't need to. He can just come in and be the the 4th rush option, the 5th rush option. Sometimes they can keep him fresh with all those guys they have behind him, and save him for December if they want to a little bit, and that will be fine. They'll still be tremendously effective playing that way. They're not going to have to be like, well, Vaughn, look, we need, ideally, we don't need 800 snaps from you. That's not what we're looking for at this point. We want, 450 really good ones or 500 really good ones. That's what we want. And he can provide that at this point in his career.
Also, people were looking at the 6-year deal number, and they're like, oh my God, you're signing somebody that age to a 6-year deal? It's not a 6-year deal. It's basically a 3-year deal, if we're being honest. And I would bet that it will end up being a 3-year deal because this is the window.
Sure.
After 3 years, if I recall correctly, is when the Josh Allen contract starts to get like, oh shit, so like they're taking advantage of it. Yeah, so they're taking advantage of it while they can, and why not? Like, if you have a chance to go get a ring, go get a ring. Looking at the other free agency / trade / cuts, really just roster losses in general. Emanuel Sanders did play a really, really large percentage of snaps for them last year. He's no longer in the building, which for a 35-year-old receiver in a receiving core that is also extremely deep, not super surprising. Want to get a little bit younger. Cole Beasley, again, low to mid 30s on the age range. They're trying to get a little bit younger. So he's no longer there. But they did replace them. I use the term replace loosely. They did keep Isaiah McKenzie there for only $2.2 million, which he's 6 years younger than Cole Beasley and also faster and also more explosive. And they did pick up Jamison Crowder in terms of third-party additions. Again, 4 years younger than Cole Beasley, quicker, more explosive at this point. I think that the moves that they made, especially considering Crowder is also $2 million, the moves they made to get younger and cheaper at receiver while still arguably being more explosive. I'm trying not to say low-key. We've been told that we say low-key too much. But low-key, one of the most savvy things that Bean has done, I think, this offseason is recognizing, like, hey, the wide receiver market is absolutely out of control. We'll give Stephon Diggs $24 million a year because, again, we're in the window. We can't afford to lose him. We can't pay anybody else. Gabe Davis is still dirt cheap, but like we're not going to be re-upping Emanuel Sanders. We're not going to be re-upping Cole Beasley. Like, let's do Jamison Crowder and Isaiah McKenzie for a combined $4.2 million. Give Diggs $24 million and then roll with a bunch of other cheap dudes. That allowed them to do all of this retooling on defense in the first place. And again, just kind of goes to show like when a GM is like truly in his bag and understands positional value and kind of where to fill in the gaps around the stars. Phenomenal job by him because the receiving core is still great, and it's also not even that expensive.
Yeah, I love that he went in division for Crowder and grabbed a guy who they've watched for years now as he's played with the Jets and gone, that guy could benefit from playing with a really good quarterback. We think we can get more out of him than the Jets got out of him. And we've got a role, and he's not going to be terribly expensive because of that, because he hasn't really ascended to heights, but he still put up numbers and was still productive. We were talking about this pre-show that Crowder, I think, is one of those people that he is a player that he's going to open people's eyes as he gets into that offense. Again, he doesn't have to be. He's the fourth option. He's the legitimate fourth throwing option in that offense. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't have to stand out and win all the time and whatever else. But when they throw the ball, he can win on the routes that he needs to run as a third or fourth receiver and be very productive. And again, that's not a huge step down from someone they had in that role last year that was also very productive for $2 million. Right? That's a great get, looking around and saying, oh, we know that guy. Like, we can do better with him than our rivals did. Let's do that.
Also, at this point, at this stage in his career, Crowder's also probably thinking like, okay, if I have an offer for more money somewhere else, but I have a chance, like an actual great chance to go get a ring in Buffalo, it's kind of hard to turn that down. If I'm a 29-year-old receiver who's got a real shot to get a ring, in the later stages of my career, I don't know if I could say no to that. Especially like playing with Josh Allen, like your stats are going to be so good. Like, yeah, you'll probably get a better deal down the line anyway.
And he knows the division too. I mean, this goes both ways. Jamison Crowder knows all the corners in the division, knows all the coaches in the division. He's played against them his entire career. So, yes, he moves teams and he has to learn the new offense and everything else, but he knows all the defenders he's going against. He knows all the tendencies. So, great move on both parts. And the other place where they dropped a bunch of cash was Mitch Morse. Mm-hmm. Right. They said, nope, we're not letting our center go. We've talked about this before on previous episodes in the divisional preview series. Typically, if you're going to prioritize an interior offensive lineman, if you like your center even a little bit, it's the center. you're going to keep your center and surround him with some rotational replaceable guards, which is exactly what they did. Their top 3 guards on the roster around Mitch Morse come in for a combined total of $7 million between the 3 of them.
Which is what, like 40% of the cost of what the Jags paid for Scherf, I think? Around there?
Yeah. I mean, it's very let's put it that way. And they're getting good players. It's not like they're trying to hide those players, but again, they went for value. They said, no, our money, almost $10 million is going to Mitch Morse because, again, he calls the protections. Josh is comfortable with him. We're not upsetting that apple cart. But in order to do that, we can't go out and get a Brandon Scherf and put him next to him. So we've got to get some other players. They keep Ryan Bates. Ryan Bates was on an offer sheet. The Bears wanted him badly. I wanted him badly for the Bears. He would be starting for the Bears. He would be their starting right guard right now. Buffalo matched, let some other folks out of the building. Ryan Bates is going to be in their starting lineup. So just another sort of priority and creative use of where does that money need to go for greatest impact? Nope, we're keeping our center that our all-world quarterback loves, and we're going to get some guards to make it work.
And they also kind of added to that as well in third-party additions from other teams. Greg Van Roten from the Jets, they brought in to be a depth piece at guard. Roger Saffold, they brought in presumably to be the starter at left guard. I imagine Bates is going to be the starter at right guard. Saffold can still really, really run block. Pass protection, a little bit of an issue, not going to lie. A lot of bit of an issue. If you're looking at Titans tape last year, he gave up a lot of pressures. But he's also had some really good years in pass protection too. So you never know. Could have been an injury. Could have been, maybe they were asking him to do something that he really shouldn't have been doing when it comes to scheme. I without me digging fully into like all of the pressures he gave up, it's tough to say. But I do know that in years past, watching Saffold in pass protection, he was very solid. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt on that one. But yeah, it's something that Bills fans should be aware of. Like, hey, dude can still run block like a motherfucker. But if you start seeing anything give up pressure on this offensive line, might be Saffold, just going off statistics. But I really do like the retooling and reloading they've done along the offensive line, keeping most of the interior together. Obviously, you still have your bookend tackles, one of the better tackle duos in the league. If you look at the offensive metrics in terms of like yards per play and everything like that, with and without Spencer Brown on the field, it is remarkable. Like I don't want to say the offense fell apart without Spencer Brown, but god damn, there was a big difference when he was not there. Which is kind of interesting because he's still a really young player, but they kind of threw him out there early in his career and just said, hey, you're 6'8" and a freak athlete, go fight some people. And by God, he did, and it works. It works really, really well. So when Spencer Brown is on the field and Dion on the other side is rock solid too. One of the better tackle duos in the entire NFL, and I will die on that hill. The interior is still strong. As long as Saffold is improving in pass protection year over year compared to last year, this overall offensive line-wise, again, not very expensive in the grand scheme of things, but very, very good.
They hope both of those tackles stay very healthy.
Yeah.
Spencer
not great
especially.
Depth, not great depth.
Yeah, Spencer Brown, the difference you alluded to, it's almost 50% greater average EPA with him on the field than with him off. That's a massive difference for one player, especially a tackle. Very effective. This, I don't want to say new mold, but current en vogue mold of NFL tackles for drafting. Really large, really athletic guys that are still figuring it out and pairing them with good offensive line coaches. We talked about Aaron Kromer and, letting them figure it out quickly on the field. Colton Miller was that way. He was kind of, I don't want to say the first because it's a long line, but first of the sort of massive success stories in recent NFL. And we saw teams draft that way this year as well, right? We're going to go get a very large, very athletic guy and put him out there with a good offensive line coach and hope that he hits, because if he does, it's a great value for us financially, but he's also going to be, a rock solid piece that we're going to build our offensive line around. And the Bills hit with Spencer Brown, and they just want him to stay out there and stay healthy because they got one, they found one, it worked, and they want him to to stay upright and keep Josh Allen upright.
Let me put it this way. Brown working that early is one of the big reasons why Trevor Penning got drafted in the first round. Because literally, same school, very similar athletic profiles.
Yep.
Penning a little bit more athletic, but Brown is still like gigantic and also athletic. And it worked immediately, and I think the Saints were like, yeah, we could do that too. We'll be fine. Just give us the big guy. So overall, man, just top to bottom roster construction, roster reloading. Again, you're trimming the fat along the defensive front and upgrading it. You're getting younger at receiver and also getting cheaper at receiver. You're losing a couple guys in terms of depth players in the offensive line, but also replacing and arguably upgrading in terms of overall offensive line depth. And if they stay healthy, they're amazing. Nothing got worse on the entire roster. Absolutely nothing. And that's before we even get to the draft.
Yeah, we just started with the free agents and, existing players and free agents. It's already, they could field a team. There were teams that if they didn't have their draft this year, they weren't fielding a team. They were drafting. That's drafting for need in the classic sense. Bills were drafting for what's the best thing that we can get. We don't need anything. And so we'll run through their draft class, sizable draft class, quite a few picks, and we'll run through them all. And then we'll really talk about sort of highlights, where we think they fit, and sort of what piece they play. But again, they didn't need anybody, and that's a tremendous place to start as a GM. I can just go pick the best and be thinking about not just this year, but next year and who's coming due for contracts and everything else. Brandon Beane clearly had that in mind putting this class together. So first round, pick 23, they get Kaiir Elam, the cornerback I alluded to earlier out of Florida. Big guy, very physical. He's going to presumably slot right in across from Tre'Davious White, be their other outside starter. In the second round, pick 63, they get James Cook, the running back from Georgia. Very, I'll say 50-50 runner receiver, right? Very modern running back. They wanted a little bit more pop in the passing game from the running back position. Cook gives them that. If you want to see how that works, go watch the Michigan game, Georgia versus Michigan. Mm-hmm. That's what they saw that he could do. That's what they wanted in their offense, and they went and got him. A little earlier than I would have done it, but I can absolutely see why they did it with that player. Round 3, pick 89, Terrell Bernard, the linebacker from Baylor, is going to sit behind Milano and slightly undersized, very rangy, very fast. He's got two great ones to learn from. So Bobby Babich gets a new toy to play with. Again, clearly a backup. They're talking about succession planning here. So they're hoping Terrell Bernard hits, and when both of their inside linebackers would be expensive, Terrell Bernard can replace one of them.
I don't know if Matt Milano's ever going to be expensive. He just keeps taking discounts that he doesn't need to. Like the contract they got him for when they signed, it was like a year ago, I think, at this point. Like it was absurd even at the time, and it's even more absurd now.
Now it looks like a vicious bargain for Brandon Beane. So they skipped the 4th round pick, 5th round pick, number 148. This is one I know we're going to come back to for you. Khalil Shakir, wide receiver, Boise State, is slot extraordinaire, very electric, tons of juice, special teams prowess as well. Very interesting running style. We actually watched him together when we were in Vegas. We did a little bit of scouting. He was headed to the Senior Bowl. We were at the Shrine Bowl. And, I don't want to say unique. I'm not sure any player is completely unique, but different and stood out. And you think he's got a big role in the future. We'll come back to that. And then finally, we get to talk about round 6, pick 180. Punt God. We've been talking about Matt Araiza for a long time. San Diego State punter. Had really sort of kicked off the punter wars this year in the draft, was the name on a lot of people's lips early in the process. Ends up with the Bills. They let their punter go. We didn't mention that specifically in the losses, but again, you're down in the 6th round. Great place to get a punter with a huge leg. You're kicking outdoors, cold weather. Talk about those December. You need the field position game. Matt Araiza is a weapon. All they have to give up for him is a 6th rounder. They had 3 6th-round picks. In their second pick in the 6th round, 185, they get Christian Benford, the corner from Villanova. Last pick in the 6th round, 209, they get Luke Tenuta, the offensive tackle from Virginia Tech. And then round 7, guy we got to interview at the Shrine Bowl, linebacker out of Clemson, Balin Spector. So lots of picks, lots of depth picks, pick in the first, pick in the second, pick in the third, and then a whole bunch of picks in the 5th, 6th, and 7th. So really filling in depth, but you can still see all the way down to Spector. You can look at that and say, I know what they're going to do with him. And that's a sign of a team, again, with a plan where the coaching staff and the GM are in lockstep.
I'll kind of work backwards here. Spector, even when I was doing my pre-draft content over on the Film Room channel, one of the people I compared him to was Matt Milano. Mm-hmm. Like a Walmart Matt Milano, but like it's a very similar like build and skill set and instinct. Like he called the defense, which is not an easy defense, by the way, under Venables. Like the more that I understand the Venables playbook, the more I'm like, wow, these people are batshit insane, like with how they call stuff. But Spector did it. Like he was the guy that ran the show there. Really, really, really tough, hard-nosed player, good instincts. Is he as fast as Bernard? Probably not, but I also think that he's really tough. He's really quick, surprisingly fluid. Just seems like a classic, going to stick around on the roster as a backup linebacker and special teams demon for a very, very long time and carve out a nice career for himself. And God forbid, if somebody goes down, I think you can be okay with him as one of your starters for at least a couple games and be fine. Luke Tenuta at offensive tackle, boy, they have a type, don't they? They absolutely they see a 6'8" number next to an offensive tackle and they're like, mine, that's our guy. We need a giant tree. Yeah, he's very stiff compared to all the other 6'8" tackles that they like, but also like not as long. He's got the length of a tackle in terms of arm length of a tackle was like 6'3", but he's 6'8". So it's kind of like a weird combination of like really tall, not super long, kind of stiff, still really strong, has some good qualities to him, but I see him as a long-term depth piece, to put it diplomatically. Benford, I actually did not watch at all because I never got to Villanova film. Ariza, I had him. He was not my top punter. That was the kid in Tennessee now, Stonehouse from Colorado State. But I do acknowledge he has an insane leg. And if they just get it under control in terms of location, he'll be really, really good for them. Khalil Shakir. This is the centerpiece of their draft, in my opinion. Which is weird because people are like, a 5th-round receiver. How's that the centerpiece of the draft? I did a whole Film Room episode on it. If you look at how Shakir's versatility in terms of you can line him up in the backfield, you can put him in the slot, you can put him outside, you can give him carries, like you can run power with this guy. He's not Debo, but he can do similar things to what Debo does. Like I'm not going to give him 12 carries in a game like I would Debo, but if you want to do it 5 carries in a game, you can get away with that because he's a really tough runner, really elusive, really explosive in short areas. Also, when he has the ball in his hands, the 4-3 is legit. If he's running under a ball deep down the field, I don't think he's as fast, but once he has the ball, like he is, like nobody's catching him. He is crazy fast when people are chasing him. It's kind of remarkable that way, but just looking at the versatility, obviously the special teams ability as well. He's a very effective return man, even though they didn't give him as many shots to be a returner at Boise State as I would have hoped for. Whenever he did it, he was really good at it. I think that by the second half of the season, considering that he probably will be a better returner than the other slot weapons that are on the team right now, I think he's going to be edging for snaps. McKenzie and even Crowder. I think that he could edge some snaps off Crowder too, because he does things that those guys don't, or at least don't do as well, which is run the ball, run tough through contact in the screen game, do all the return stuff. Like, I think he's just a better option there. So as the season goes on, he's going to get more and more snaps. He's going to get worked in more and more. And I think long term, he's the guy. He's their next Gabe Davis of like day 3 receivers that nobody pays attention to until all of a sudden, by the end of the second year, they've got a 3-touchdown game on national television. Everybody's like, oh, Khalil Shakir is pretty damn good. Well, there you go.
Nobody pays attention to Gabe Davis? I'm wounded.
They do now.
I'm wounded. I did. I liked Gabe Davis, but I realize I'm weird in that capacity. Great class. The fact that they get Khalil it feels so luxury to me. Like, we needed one thing. And at pick 22, we got one that was sitting there that we really liked, that fit really well, that a lot of people linked to us pre-draft. Like, good teams end up in those spots, and it's not an accident. They do all the other things to make sure that they're not sort of reaching and lurching and throwing money around into bad contracts because they have to. And, sure enough, somebody goes, they're so lucky that happened. And I'm like, are they, though? I don't really think that's lucky.
I totally forgot to bring this up about Elam, by the way. Did you see the video of his interview with them before the draft, like his player interview? Oh, my God. How do you not fall in love with him immediately? They probably decided they were going to draft him that day.
Yeah, I wish that those things came out earlier because, again, we've talked about the third in the draft process, the piece we don't get to see. The first third is tape on the field. That's available to pretty much everybody. Second is workouts, whether that's combine, pre-draft, anything else that's released, measurements, all that stuff, the sort of fact stuff. Is this fast? Is this tall? And then there's this wide, we call it the third, but it's probably more than a third, about are they coachable? How's their mental state? How do they process? What have they learned? How's their adaptability, flexibility? Are they comfortable with learning, or are they want to always get it right the first time? All that stuff about the makeup of an athlete that's so important and really key to their success because, look, we're talking about the NFL. They're all good athletes. But Khalil came in with a completely prepared 3-ring binder, sat down with the coaches, and was sort of saying, well, this is how I'd attack this. This is what I would do with this. Completely prepared for that particular interview. He made one for each team. Right? He has a section in his binder for each team. The coaches were like, oh, dude, we want this dude. Like, obviously, he's physically good and whatever else. We don't get to see that until later. That came out after the draft, so we don't, we get to judge off film and testing, measurements, and maybe some things we hear, but those are of varying quality and tough to trust. So really where we're making our assessments when we're putting out our pre-draft list on 2/3 of the data. That came out. It was very clear why Buffalo was like, yep, our guy. He's there. We're picking him. He fits a need. Makes me think he's going to have success very quickly because he has all the physical skills, and with that sort of attitude and approach, that's key to a young athlete's success in any league. So looks like they got a really good one. Hope that works out for them. But overall, the draft class fits in their slots, fits with their plan, which is very Buffalo at this point. And you couldn't always say that, but since Bean and McDermott have been there, this draft was very Buffalo, and that's not a bad thing. That's in no way a backhanded compliment. That's a straight-up compliment.
In terms of UDFAs, I was not going to lie, I was a little bit lukewarm on it. The one I'm mostly intrigued with is Jalen Weidemeyer, tight end from Texas A&M, who... Have you ever seen such like a stark contrast between the first time you watch somebody on tape and then the last time you watch somebody on tape? Like after the testing info comes out and the medical info comes out, and all of a sudden like you look at it in a new way and you're like, maybe I should have got through like 5 more tight ends and done a comparison before I started firing off tweets about Jalen Weidemeyer is actually pretty good.
It's not that, I don't think. I think Jalen Weidemeyer got some bad advice. And in
terms of coming out?
No, not in terms of coming out. So it's not the tale of 2 cities or 2 tight ends. It's a tale of season on season on season. So you look at his first season where he popped off at Texas A&M. He was rangy, definitely a receiving tight end, athletic, slightly undersized, and had a bunch of pop plays for them. A little bit like Jeremy Rucker in terms of more flash plays than overall like production. Then next year he'd filled out a little bit and the production came with it. And that's where all the hype came from. He was on a lot of preseason All-America lists as the number one tight end. He was on, the number one tight end on a lot of pre-draft lists. And it was like, this guy, he's got tools. And then he comes out for the third season where he was really in the public eye, and he looked like a mini guard. Like somebody said to him, bulk up and run block, and then you'll be able to do it all. And he took that very seriously. He got a lot bigger, and he didn't look as quick. Some guys can maintain speed. He got to a weight where he was very powerful. He was built like a square block and still a pretty good receiver, but looked all of the whatever he ran, 4.75 or 4.78 or whatever it was, did not have the same pop and fluidity that he'd had in the previous 2 seasons, and really looked like a different player because of it in the pass game. And that's where opinions started to cool on him, because blocking tight ends are useful and they do have roster spots. They do not get drafted up high and they do not get paid largely. So somebody said to him, this is what you need to do to be the popular kid with NFL teams. And it was wrong. It was wrong-headed. They should have just said, keep doing what you're doing in that second season, because that tape, and I went back because I looked at the tape this year that we had, and I thought, man, he looks different. Like, he just looks like a different guy altogether. Am I misremembering the tape from the year before? And I went back, and you can tell in the first tape that you look at, like, he's 20 to 25 pounds lighter, probably. Listed weights vary.
Because he was running glance routes from the slot,
right,
and looking like a receiver, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, he looked like kind of Kyle Pitts light-ish, not quite as big, not quite as long, but that kind of explosion in the pass game. Not as freaky an athlete as Kyle Pitts, but more that close role, right? And he looked that way physically. And then you looked at him this last year, it's just very stout and looked stiff because of it, and not fast. And so still made plays in the passing game. If you dug through the tape this year, he still made plays, but he just didn't make as many plays as the year before. And we talk about all the time, the progression's not linear. His declined, right? He took a misstep. Now, can he get back to? And we've seen the Bills do this before, not with tight ends necessarily, but with defensive linemen. Like Epinesa came in and was big and stout in college, and they went, nope, we're going to trim you out and move you back, put you on the edge and make you a little bit rangier. I wonder, as soon as it was announced that he was going to the Bills as a UDFA, I was like, I wonder if they were like, hey, man, look, nice try. We appreciate it, but get back to the playing weight you were second to last year in college, and we're going to put you behind Dawson Knox, and that's going to be awesome for free. And if they get that out of a UDFA, that's awesome. But Weidermeyer was one of the more conflicting studies out of this year. The only other player, Brandon Beane, is not, I'd say he's in the middle. He doesn't really embrace the UDFA process. They sort of pick and choose. They select their shots. And the only other guy on their list that really sort of caught my eye was Kingsley Jonathan. That's because I'm a Syracuse fan. An edge from Syracuse, the other edge from Syracuse this year, who had some production, again, earlier in his career and didn't have a great last season. So it's mining for diamonds, right? It's sifting through stuff that didn't look quite as good this year as it did the years before and say, hey, can we get him back to that? Can we take the things out of that made him good in the first place?
Also, Raheem Blackshare is also another one I want to bring up. The running back out of Virginia Tech. Not that I think he's going to even get significant snaps for them, because their running back group at this point, I think is actually pretty good, and also very explosive, very versatile. But he was a guy who just kind of hung around in college for a while, but had a whole lot of explosive plays for VT. He was the guy after Herbert. He was not the same as Herbert, obviously, for VT, but he was like the next guy. Like, oh, here's the new transfer that's going to be, our new kind of explosive threat. And he absolutely was. Like, he picked up a whole lot of chunk yardage, was decently effective in the red zone for an under 200-pound back that's not necessarily going to smash you. But I think as a third or fourth running back, got a legit shot to at least make the roster. Maybe not get a whole lot of playing time, but at least make the roster. So
yeah, the thing about that is right now, I like Raheem Blackshare as a player. Right now, he's RB6.
Because let's see, they have Singletary. I'm just kind of pulling up the depth chart
Yep.
right now. Off the top of my head, Singletary and Cook are the 1 and 2, not even close. They still have Moss. Taiwan Jones is automatically on the roster just for special teams. So he's fighting it out with Duke Johnson, and I think he's got a shot to beat Duke. He
does.
It's not a
running
great
back
shot, but it's a shot.
5, right? Most teams are not going to carry a running back 5 unless he has strong special teams value. And you could say that's Taiwan Jones, so Blackshare would be 4, but still, running back 4 better have some special teams chops, or he's going to end up on the practice squad, which again is no great loss for UDFA. In fact, it's a victory. If you can put a player on your practice squad that you can use with a lot more flexibility this year because of the practice squad rules being expanded so you can go up and down between the practice squad and the active roster even more, massive value.
How often do you think people listen to our podcast and go, why are we talking about a rookie UDFA running back 5 at best an hour into podcast?
Because we're us. At this point, they probably have the idea that this is what they're going to get. The beatings will continue until morale improves. But yeah, somebody posted a comment on Twitter today about 45 plus minutes, and I was like, 45, that'd be really short. 45 plus minutes an episode per team. Brett and EJ continue to be different, and I was like, most people call us special, but yes, no, this is what we do, and this is why. Look, folks that make their living betting on sports love this, because if for some reason the Bills get 3 running back injuries and suddenly Raheem Blackshear's getting a spot start, they know who he is already. They don't have to go look it up.
Final segment of this show, team floor, team ceiling. You and I think, are in pretty decent agreement here in terms of the win ceiling and the win floor. You and I both have them as a floor of 9 wins, and that floor basically requires some sort of injury to Josh Allen. That's the only way I think they even get there. It's too good of a team, too good of a coaching staff, too good of a command structure, too good of a quarterback to not win double-digit games, even in the AFC, which is loaded, unless Josh Allen somehow, God forbid, knock on wood, gets hurt. The ceiling, 12, 13, however, it doesn't really matter. Once you get up into that upper stratosphere, we're basically saying, yeah, the ceiling is first seed. They're hosting all the playoff games. They're going to the Super Bowl, and they're winning it. It's really just a question of how healthy are they? Because they're going to be good in December, because they're usually good in December. They're going to be a dominant offense. They're going to be a dominant defense. The question is, how healthy are they? Which, if you guys listen to Rockpile Report, which is a great Bills podcast, we're friends with them. They've talked before about the investment that the Pagulas have made into their athletic staff and their training center and everything. The Bills' injury rate is actually shockingly low compared to most of the rest of the league because of their program, their sports science program. They put a ton of money into it, and as long as that holds true and this team stays healthy, yeah, we're looking at 12, 13 wins, even in a loaded AFC. And they're hosting the playoffs, and they're making a run here. The ceiling is, technically speaking, non-existent, because they could win the Super Bowl this year, and they could win it going away. That's how talented they are.
Yeah, 2 things. If the aliens come and take Josh Allen back, it's 9 wins. And the other is, we keep saying the AFC is loaded. The AFC is loaded because the Bills are in it. They're the loaded. We keep just saying, oh, these boogeymen are in the AFC. These are the boogeymen from the AFC. This is one of the 2 or 3 teams we're talking about right at the very top. This is not oh, yeah, they're good, and with the right breaks, they could compete. No, these are the folks that are going to be making the breaks. These are the folks that it's going to be very tough to take wins off of on any week, home or away. This is the loaded in the AFC we're talking about. That's the Bills.
They are the ones who knock.
That's right.
As long as they don't play the Jags, they'll be fine. For whatever reason.
You had to, didn't you? You just had to. Couldn't get all the way through it without doing that.
Hey, man, you can't lose to the Jags and not have me roast you. It's not allowed. Man, yeah. Hell of a team. Hell of a program. They're it, man. If we're looking at an AFC championship game of maybe Buffalo, Kansas City again. God, I would love that rematch. The Colts are in it. Pretty much the entire AFC West is in it, if we're being realistic. Like Baltimore, Cincinnati, name your shot. But I think regardless of who you're picking to represent the AFC in the AFC Championship game, most people it's like, oh, it's going to be Cincinnati and Buffalo, KC and Buffalo, Chargers and Buffalo, Denver and Buffalo. Everybody's at least in agreement, like, Buffalo's going to be there. It's just a question of who they're playing, or maybe even who they're hosting in the AFC Championship game. But I can't wait to see it play out. I'm hoping to see this team live and in action week 1 down here in LA. Trying to make that happen at least, because that's going to be one of the games of the year, and also the first game of the year. And then I'll be in Austin a couple days after that for Bama UT. So it's going to be a little bit of a whirlwind week for me if I can make all that happen. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, we're doing our full kind of macro review of the AFC East tomorrow, where we're looking at, Offensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year within the division, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, check that out. If you're interested in the other team previews for this division, especially if you're a Bills fan, you want to get to know the teams that you're about to kick the shit out of for the next few months, go check those out. And we keep on rolling, EJ. Any last words before we move on?
No, happy to get this one in the can. This is there's a few you mark off when we're doing a series that covers the entire NFL. Like, oh yeah, that one's going to be easy. That's going to roll. And this was one of those. Looking forward to seeing this team perform. Expectations are high, and they should be. It's an excellent team, so want to see them play out. If we're lucky enough, we'll get to see them in person this year. Be great if that was in Buffalo. We've been talking to the Rock Pile Report guys for a while about that. Not sure we're going to make it happen this year, but if we do, we'll certainly let all the faithful know that we're gonna be showing up, because we'll be back in the home, folks.
Yeah, take me to that bagelry you used to work at, because I've only had New York bagels once in my life, and God, they do it different there, man.
Words don't do it justice. It's not the same thing. Anybody that's had a real bagel from the East Coast generally looks for them for the rest of their life if they don't live there. But we can make that happen. But going to be a great team. I think it's going to be a very good season in Western New York.
All right, we'll see you all back here same time tomorrow, same place, to talk about the AFC East as a whole, and then we are moving on to the NFC East. So see you all tomorrow, and until then, later.
Take care.